Thank you, Cahirlock. Cahirlock, Fianna Fáil is strongly opposed to Section 5 of the bill. For the second year in a row, working mothers have been targeted for huge cuts in maternity benefits. Last year, the payment was taxed for the first time, with the result that many women lost an incredible €2,700 over the course of one maternity leave period, over the course of 26 weeks. Now, in this bill, the payment is being cut by €32 a week for over 90% of claimants. And between the two budgets, between Budget 2013 and Budget 2014, new mothers will have been hit for an astonishing €3,500. These are women who have worked, who have paid PRSI. It's a PRSI payment, so they paid their social insurance. As Minister was pointing out earlier, it's one of the few payments, indeed, that's available to self-employed women on the self-employed stamp. So these are people who have worked and made their PRSI contributions. And an incredibly expensive time in family life. Having infants is extremely expensive in terms of all the additional costs that are put on families. Now they're being hit for €3,500. It's a savage cut. It was described, Minister, as you know, by the National Women's Council as anti-women and anti-family, and by Barnados as anti-parenting, callous and unsupportive. I think it was one of the worst cuts, both in this budget and in the last budget, to target young mothers in this way. The impact of it will be that many women simply won't be able to afford to take the full 6 months of paid maternity leave and be forced to go back to return to work early. Which is bad not only for themselves but also for their children, because, as we know and as is often talked about in terms of childcare provision and early years strategy and where we're trying to go in terms of prioritising investment in children at the youngest possible age, the first year is absolutely crucial. And Ireland is one of the few countries we only pay 6 months paid maternity leave. Best practice now internationally is to pay a year so that women can spend the first year, the crucial first year, at home with their children. So not only do we only pay for the 6 month period, but now we're going to make it even harder for women to actually take that period. And some women are going to be hit harder than others. Public sector employees won't be hit at all because the state will pick up the tab. So female civil servants or female public servants at least have some comfort in knowing that they will still get their full maternity pay when they're out on leave. And indeed, if you're fortunate enough to work for some of the larger companies, 75% of large companies pay top-ups again to ensure that their female staff are able to get their full pay while out on maternity leave. But indeed, the number of companies that are doing that, even amongst our biggest employers, has dropped considerably. Some survey shows it's dropped by 25% since 2008, because, of course, as companies are under other financial pressures, they're cutting back in these areas. And finally, for women who work in small companies, only a quarter of SMEs pay top-up maternity pay. So the vast majority of women who work in low-income employment or work for small companies won't be getting any top-up, so they will find themselves financially struggling as a result of these cuts. Minister, I do think it's crazy that this particular group are singled out in such a savage way by the government. You've made the point in all the budget commentary, and indeed today in our earlier debate, about protecting core rates. That's fine, but I don't think there's a group at this stage that hasn't been cut for other ancillary payments. And this group in particular, how you could say that core payments to women who are out on maternity leave have been protected when they've been cut by $3,500. I think it's an incredible cut. I think it's really, really unfair. And that's why we're opposing this section today, and appealing to you to look at it again. Because it's really savage. We've over 45,000 women that will be affected between last year's cut in the taxation side and now on the payment, and it is crazy to be cutting them by that much.